Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is First Impressions Friday and we have a set of pencils that are so pretty. They come in this gorgeous bag, color pencil bag. It has a zipper and it also has a little pocket here in the front, which is great. And the pencils actually come in it, and it has all these wonderful stars and star systems and planets, everything on it. And inside, pencils. Wonderful, wonderful set of colored pencils. If you watched the first video, you would have seen me show them before I did the comparison to with the Brute Tuners. This one is just about these beauties. So I have, of course, swatched them, and we will watch the swatch together. And they are, let's see if I can pronounce this right. They are a ZZONEART colored pencil. I'm going to switch you over to the close-up camera so you can take a look at the colored pencils themselves. So they've got the company name and the company logo, colored pencils, and then a number here, a manufacturing number, and then a color number. They are color dipped. They have a gold band around them. They're quite nice looking pencils. They're a little thin, but they're not bad. I bought these on Amazon UK. Somebody showed the watercolor version of these on Facebook, and I'd never heard of them before, so I must, of course, look and see if I can find them, because, yeah, a new set of pencils that I don't have? Ah! Now, I will say that they are a budget-friendly set of pencils if you live in the UK. They do come to, I think it was, let's see, they're, okay, that changed. I wonder why that changed. Let's go back to the, so in pounds, maybe it was in pounds to begin with. Yes, in pounds they're $28.99, 28 pounds 99 whatever's, 28.99 in pounds, and in US dollars they're 30. Just going to change it back here. In US dollars they're 39.82. I got them on sale because I purchased them for a little bit less than that. But unfortunately, the shipping is really, really expensive. So the pencils themselves was $20, 20 pounds, and then the shipping was 20 pounds. So it came out to be 40 pounds, which was $54.69 US for this set of pencils. So they have gone up since I purchased them. Like I said, I do believe they were on sale. They're no longer on sale. Let's see if there's any more. Yeah, no, there's not another company selling them for cheaper, of course. So, but they are an oil-based pencil, and there's 120 pencils here. They do have other sets available that are smaller sets. They are a little bit more expensive than, say, Castle Arts, that sort of thing. They do, like I said, come in the bag that they're in, and they come with a pencil extender as well as this cute little book. oh, I'll switch you over to the main screen here so you can see. So it comes with the Secret Garden and Inky Treasure Hunt and Coloring Book, and it's just a little book of the Inky Joanna Bashford's Inky coloring book. That's what they say it is anyway. So it's a cute little book. I love the little. I just love those. It is a inexpensive paper, quite thin, but it's a good little book that fits right into the little pocket here. So you can keep at least that book in here. I want to actually check. So the Europa book might fit in there. Maybe not. Yes. The Europa book fits in there with a little bit of finagling, but not quite well. You can definitely put it on the top though, so that you can put it all together and zip it up. So let's see if it'll zip up with the Europa book in there. And it does. So you can definitely put at least a small coloring book in there and have it all in one place, which is great. So Rita Berman's books are perfect for it because they're nice and small. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to close that. Yeah, they're called ZZ1 Art. ZZ1 Art. That's what they're called. It takes me a few minutes, but I'll get it. So the name of the brand is ZZ1 Art. So we're going to do this swatch. So sit back, grab your cup of coffee. It'll take about 3 or 4 minutes. We'll swatch all of these pencils and then we'll talk about the swatch. We'll do some testing and some coloring with them. So just give me a moment here. Of course, sit back, relax. It's swatch time. I guess it helps if I turn the mic back on. All right, guys, so that wasn't so bad. So as you can see, they are in color order up to number 72. I was really kind of excited. And then we went past 72. So basically what they did is they took their basic 72 set and added other colors. Now the other colors are also in color order, so they should be fairly easy to integrate into the 72 set. So we have quite a few yellows between the two areas. So we've got yellows here and down here. We've got some nice peachy tones, some nice orange tones. I'll switch you over to the close-up camera so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So we've got some really nice yellow tones to here, and then we've got a couple of light peach tones. And then down here, we've got a nice set of yellows, a darker yellows down here, and a darker peach tone. We've got some light oranges up here and some dark oranges down here, which is great. Some good reds, some really nice looking reds. And then we go into our pinks. Starting with the dark pinks all the way into the light pink there. And then here we've got some more light pinks as well as a couple more dark pinks. And then we go into our purples. And then again down here we've got a couple of light purples as well. And then our dark purples. We have a dark purple and a medium dark purple there. This one is more of a blue violet. And this one here is more of a purple. And then we go into our dark blues and our light blues. And then, of course, down here we've got more dark blue and a couple more light blue. Personally, I think there's a few too many dark blues in there. I would have preferred a few more light blues, but it is what it is. There's basically, what, five light blues, medium blues, and or light blues, and then it goes into the medium blues, which there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 medium blues, and then 4 really dark blues. So it's got a fairly good range. And then we have our aquatic colors, our blue greens from our light to our dark, and we've got another one down here as well, which is almost an emerald green. And then we've got our olive, our dark olive green, our green gray, and those kind of colors here. Some light green, medium green, dark green, a medium green, and then some more light greens. So down here we have quite a few dark greens, and then a couple of yellow greens as well. And then of course our browns, and then down here we have a couple more browns and a couple more red browns. And then up here we have quite a few of the terracotta kind of colors. And then we go into our black and our grays. And down here we've got a few more grays. So it's a very well-rounded set combined together. It will make a really nice set. There's a heavy amount of blue and green, which isn't too bad. I think I would have preferred maybe a couple more light blues, maybe a couple more light purples, but that's my personal preference for the type of coloring I do. They do have a really nice selection of these really lilac lavender kind of purples, which is fantastic. They've also got a couple of medium kind of tones as well. So doing a 3-tone or 3 pencil combination is going to be quite easy with this set. So there is our set. I think one of the things that I do try to keep track of is the scratchy pencils. So I had a green that was scratchy and a dark blue. So as you can see, I've checked off yes on those. One of the browns was a bit scratchy, and the red orange here as well as the red here. Both had a bit of scratch. Now that may just be because I didn't sharpen them, because I don't sharpen them before I swatch. So we'll see how they do after I sharpen them. Same with this terracotta orange here, was a bit more scratchy than I like and actually felt like it was cutting into the paper. I looked at the paper and didn't see any cuts into it, but it felt like it. Same with this brown. So there is a few that have a scratchiness to them that they shouldn't have. Normally, the scratchiness is caused by a higher level of pigmentation, and the darker pencils will usually have that problem. It also is caused by a pigment not being dissolved properly in the mixture and ending up with a chunk of something that's going to scratch your page or leave a darker area on your page. Now, I did have one pencil that gave me some concern, and it was, let's see if I can find it. This one here, number 58, has a bit of a brown in the green. So I'm not sure if that's just a bit of pigmentation that wasn't quite mixed in properly to make that olive green color. Once again, I'll figure that out once I sharpen them. It could have also had a bit of the brown from the color next to it on the pencil. So we'll see if that's the case when we start doing some testing with them. So I've got my special sparkly pen, my silver that turns teal and all those wonderful colors when I turn it. And I'm going to put a couple of circles down. And we're going to do our water test. Now hopefully this ink won't run with water. I haven't tested that yet. I guess there's no time but the present, right? So we'll do a water and then we'll do a smudge. You know, the basic tests. And we'll figure out if they're waterproof, if they run with water, if you can use water with them or not. And we'll also test their blendability both between each other, if we can do a gradient blend, color blend, or if we can layer them to blend. These are an oil-based pencil, so normally you don't blend with a blending pencil with them. However, I do. I don't care. I really don't. Um, so blends and pencil, blender pencil. Okay, so we've got our tests all set up here. Let's grab our pencils. Oh, let's not smash our pencils. Come on now. All right, so let's pick our colors. I need a dark blue. So I think number 98 will work. So there's number 98. A nice dark blue. And we want a red. Let's go into the front. Let's go into the first part for some red. There's a nice red. And a yellow. And I think I want the yellow from up here to number 4. All right, so we've got our blue, our red, and our yellow. Because that's just usually what I test with. Because, yeah, I like them. No particular reason other than they make a perfect rainbow, and I like them. Now, the dark blue is going to make a bit of a mucky kind of green color instead of, brilliant green. I could use a light blue, I guess. So I am sharpening them with my crank sharpener. And they are sharpening to a nice point. I'm not getting any breakage. They do look very centered, which is awesome. This one here, a little bit more off-centered, but it's still pretty close. I do have one in there I was actually going to sharpen because that kind of concerned me because when I was swatching it, the wood was up quite high on it. Let's see if I can find it because I want to give it a sharpen and see. This one here. Was it this one? I'll have to go through it and see. I think it was this one. I'm not seeing any other ones, so unless there's more than one that did that. But I'm not seeing more than one, so it is this one. Okay, so as you can see, the wood goes all the way up to the tip. I just want to make sure that that's a issue with the way they sharpen them in the manufacturer, not an issue with the pencil. And it's an off-centered pencil, so it's quite off-centered, and that may be an issue when trying to color with it. So that's a bit of a bummer. Yeah, it's quite off-centered. I can probably take a razor blade and knock that down and then sharpen it and have it sharpen more evenly. But for now, let's do our testing. We've got our handy dandy brush to move any sort of pigment away. So we're going to start with our red. And I'm just going to lay down a heavy layer. Now, normally with oil-based pencils, you try to press as lightly as possible and build that color up. Because this is a test and I want it at its height of coverage, I'm going to press a little harder. They are fairly smooth for the ones that don't have a bit of a scratch to them, so that's good. They do lay down color really nice. That one didn't seem to be flaky at all, which is good. And same with this one. Color's laying down very nicely. And I'm not getting any major flaking. You're always, when you sharpen your pencil as sharp as I do, you're always going to lose that a little bit of that tip, especially when you're putting heavier pressure on it. So what I usually do is as I color, I turn my pencil a little bit, and it helps maintain that tip. So that you're not flaking or breaking your tip all over the place. Alright, so there we have our blue. Like I said, I pressed quite hard trying to get as much color on the page as possible. So let's do our water test. Got my handy dandy brush here. And the red, oh, once the water saturates and soaks in, it moves a little bit. And our yellow moves quite a bit. The good news is my pen does not. And the blue is going to move. Yeah. And the blue moves quite a bit. So they move a lot. So definitely would not use a water-based medium with them. Oddly, the red isn't moving as much. There it goes. As the other colors. But definitely does move. So all of them move quite a bit. So I would definitely avoid using a water product with this set of pencils. If you are going to use a water product, like if you're going to put a water coloring over top of it or a water painting over top of it, make sure that you do your water painting first. Or blend with the Caran d'Ache blender, which will seal that pigment to the page. So let's see if they smudge. So let's start with our red. Again, I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on there, trying to get as pigmented as possible, because when you end up smudging your pencils is usually when you are done with the area. So you've already put down all the pigment that you're going to put down in an area, and that area is full of color. And that's usually when you rub your hand over it and end up smudging it. God, that red's pretty. I really like that red. Um, yeah, that's a really, really pretty red though. And there's our yellow. Just making sure I get a good coverage. Wiping away the excess in case I break any bits off so that I don't rub them with my finger when I do the rub test. And that's why I keep using my brush. And I'm treating these circles the same way I would if I was coloring a circle on a page, so that I can make sure that I get the same level of pigment that I would want on a circle on a page. Okay, so we're going to take my finger and we're just going to rub straight up. So they smudge a little bit. The red smudges a little bit more than the yellow. The blue smudges more than both of them. But it took a little bit to smudge it. So just going over it lightly with your hand, I wouldn't say smudges it, but putting pressure on it, like if you're going back and forth like this, it's going to smudge it. So be careful of that. All right, so now we're going to grab a couple of different colors here and do a blend. I want a pink blend today. Let's do a pink blend today. So we're going to take a dark pink. So we'll grab this one and a medium pink and a light pink. All right, so we're going to do a pink blend today because I want to. Just because I want to. I like pink. So just going to sharpen those up a little bit. Get a good point on them. Now, as you know, I don't sharpen my pencils before I do a swatch. The reason for this is the companies such as this one that even packs them into a bag for you. In their advertisement states they're ready to go. They're ready to be colored. You know, pack them in the car, off you go. So I just want to make sure that even though they aren't sharpened, that you're ready to go, as they state. Some pencils are, some pencils aren't. These did not have a coating on them, so they were definitely ready to go. They didn't have any sort of yuck feel when you first started coloring with them, even straight out of the bag. So, and after sharpening them, they feel even better. So So of course I'm leaving the tail for it to blend into. And then we're going to take our medium. And it doesn't take a whole lot to put down the layer of color, which is great. I'm just going to take my dark and I'm just going to feather that together. And then we're going to take our light and we're going to feather into the medium. And then we'll take our medium and we'll feather it out into the light. Two. And then we'll take the medium and feather it out this way. So it does gradient very nicely. If you wanted to, you could blend the entire thing with your lightest color or with your white. One of the reasons why white is very important in your pencil sets, not to be white, but to actually give you that pencil where you can easily bring all those colors together. So that is, they do a gradient blend very, very nicely. And they, layer together and combine together where you're not seeing a harsh line, which is wonderful. And now we are going to do our rainbow blend, which we always do because I love the rainbow. A rainbow is always wonderful because rainbows are the cheeriest thing in the world. They mean regrowth, rebirth, refresh, which is always fantastic. So I'm leaving the tail. I'm going over it here. Now I'm going to build the color with this, so I've put down my red and now I'm going to add my yellow. And I'm bringing the yellow into the red. Now that I've got that started, I'm going to go over it with the red again, filling in the white spot on the red area. And then we're going to go over it with the yellow. Now going back and forth like this is going to drag that yellow and red together. So you may find that your yellow turns a little red, a little orange, which is fine. Because that's what happens when you mix red and yellow, you get orange. I'm just going to make sure that I get the red equal, even. So I'm just going to go over this one more time with the yellow. Just combining those colors. Okay, now wipe that off because it's picked up a little bit of the red. And we're just going to spread out the yellow, getting it to the same level of color as the red and yellow there. Now we're going to go into the yellow with the blue. And as you can see, it creates a green. Then we're going to go over it with the yellow. Now I will say that the lighter colors are picking up the darker colors, like the yellow is picking up the blue when you go over it and the red when you go over it. So be careful when you're going over something to make sure that you're not going to pick up those colors and transfer them to somewhere else. Just going to blend that out. Wipe that off. off so that I don't have the green on there. And get that yellow in there. Then we'll extend the blue out a little bit more. What a pretty green though. It has created a really lovely green color. So it has done the gradient quite nicely. I don't like that it picks up the darker colors and drags them in, but you can easily remove them with a bit of an eraser. Rub out that green pigment there or that green mixture and just go over it with your yellow to eliminate it. But it's still one of those things that I'm not overly fond of. Okay, so as you can see, we have our red, our orange, yellow, green, and blue. And once I switch you over to the other camera, you'll see that pigmentation a lot better. That movement. So we're going to do a pencil blend here with a pencil blender. So we're going to start with our dark. I'm going to go pink again. And we're going to start with our dark. And I'm not going to layer these. I'm just going to put down a layer and move to the next layer. And I'm putting down fairly light layers. And one thing that you'll know while you're coloring, because it's one of those things that you learn quite quickly, especially with blender pencils. In order for the blender pencil to blend your colors together, of course, they need enough color. So make sure that you build up enough color for them to grab hold of. Otherwise, they can't do it. You know, a lot of people say their blender is useless, and it's not actually the blender being useless. It's the lack of pigment on the page that has created the fact that the blender isn't doing anything because it doesn't have anything to grab hold of. Nobody's useless. You know, it's just one of those learning experiences that we all go through. It took me a long time to figure that out. All right, so I've got my Caran d'Ache Blender Bright Stick here. And we're going to move that pigment down into, I guess we can go light to dark. And I don't have quite enough pigment on the page there. But I have enough to move it around and fill in the white spot. And to bring those three colors into one color. Now, one of the things you'll notice when you don't have enough pigment on the page is your pigment will start lifting off. And you'll find that the blender pencil seems to be scraping it off or lifting it off. And that's just because you don't have enough for the blender to pick up and move. So it's just lifting it off. All right. So there we have the gradient. Let's do it backwards this time. Let's do blue. Let's do blue, red. Let's do a purple this time. It's probably not going to make a good purple because it's a dark blue. It needs to be much lighter to make a good purple. So we're probably going to make some mud, but that's okay. I don't mind mud. I like dark purple too. it's just making a dark, dark, dark purple, which is fine. We can fix that with some yellow. No, we can't. That's okay. Like I said, I knew that was going to happen as soon as I did it because that's just what it does. Is a dark color going into a dark color, you're going to get a dark color. Just like a light color going into a dark color, you're going to get a light color, you know, or a medium color. All right, so there we have the three colors. Let's see about blending them together, going from light to dark. Make sure that you wipe off your blender because otherwise you're going to pick up that blue and you're going to move it through areas you don't want it to be in. So because I had more pigment there, it blended a little bit better. But it does seem to scrape it off a little bit more. So let's try a different blender. Up here on this one, we're going to use the Derwent blender. And we're just going to see if it, yeah, the Derwent blender works much better. The Caran d'Ache blender is a wax-based blender, so it works really well for wax-based pencils. However, it does work really well with work pretty good. I can't say extremely well, but they do work pretty good with the oil-based pencils, but it's a little more finicky. I find that the Derwent blender works a lot better with an oil-based pencil than the Caran d'Ache. But it does make them brighter. And it does seal them in. So if you're going to use watercolor, you know, it's all sealed in. So for example, this one down here, I used the Caran d'Ache blender on it. And the areas that the Caran d'Ache blender is on, there's no color movement at all. Where it just pills up, it doesn't move. So the Caran d'Ache blender will seal that in so that the water just sits right on top of it and it doesn't move. And most blender pencils will do that. Okay, so we're going to do this one just because. And I'm using the Derwent blender to blend it together. And basically all I'm doing is I'm just moving that pigment from one area to another to get rid of that white spot. And put those colors all in a line. And I had a bit of blue on there. Ignore the blue. Always make sure you wipe your blender completely after every use. Otherwise you'll get what I just got, which is a bit of pigment moved into it. All right, so let's see what ones they passed, what ones they failed. Where's my spuckle? There it is. So they failed the water, completely failed it. Failed the smudge, passed the blend tests, and with the Derwent blender pencil is a pass. The Caran d'Ache is a fail. So the cost. Now, right now they are in US dollars. They're 39. So let's say 40 US dollars. They are on Amazon UK, so there's a shipping cost. Now, when I purchased them, it came out to like $57, but because they're not on sale anymore, it'll be about 60. 60 with shipping. Okay, so there's $60 divided by 120 pencils, which makes them quite expensive. So let's just take a look at how expensive. So 60 divided by 120 equals. So they are 50 cents a pencil. US, which isn't horrible, but for a budget-friendly pencil, they're a little high. They're very pretty. They work very, very nicely. We're going to color, let's color this little set of flowers here and see how well they do with coloring on this cardstock. So I've got the pinks out here, so let's do them in the pinks. Let's start with our light pink. And they're laying down very, very nicely on the cardstock after being sharpened. So even after sharpening, they lay down just as nicely as they did on the swatch. The pinks laid down quite nicely, so just when you get your pencils, when you're first playing with them, keep your eye out for different things. A, are they scratchy? B, do they have other pigmentation in them that doesn't belong? Like, do I have a yellow pencil and suddenly there's a great big huge red streak across your page? Things like that. If those sorts of things happen, send your pencils back. Don't keep them. Because what that means is that throughout that core somewhere, there is either a pigment from a different batch that wasn't cleaned out of the vat properly, or it's a undissolved piece of pigment that should have been mixed in. So for example, if you have an orange pencil and it does that, more than likely what that is a piece of the red pigment that was put in there with the yellow pigment to make the orange pigment didn't dissolve properly or didn't bind to the binder properly. And when that happens, you can end up with a very scratchy pencil and a very odd streaking in your pencils. That's why I was a little bit concerned about that one with the brown. After looking at it and looking at the brown next to it, I think it just picked up the brown, but we'll pull that green and we'll take a look at it as well. And we'll give it a sharpen and see if it's a problem. Now, with purchasing these from the Amazon UK, I've never had to send anything back to them, so I don't know what the return policy is internationally, but I will take a look at some point because, it's just one of those things that you should know. I don't intend on sending the pencils back, so I wasn't too concerned about it. Even if they were horrible, they're still pretty and would work really well in my art project that I'm doing for my office when I get my office. So, a lot of the really pretty fail pencils end up going into my desktop that I'm going to be making when I get my own office. When I get my studio, I'm going to have a pencil desk. It's going to be made out of pencils. Well, the top of it is anyway. It's going to have an insert made out of pencils and acrylic. It'll be really cool. Alright, so I've done the light pink, the medium pink, and now I'm going to go in with the dark pink. And just darken up those shadow areas. Now you can do this either which way, either with the dark to light or light to dark. Of course, that's a personal preference of how you want to do it. With putting the layers down on the test, I felt that they do put down a thicker layer of color, and I didn't want the light to overtake the dark a lot. So if I put down the dark first and then put the light down on top of it, I may have lost that level of darkness, where putting it on top of the light and the medium gives me a bit of a buffer. So when I go over it again with the light to blend it all together, I'm not going to lose as much of that dark as I would if I put the light, the medium, and then the light on top of it, if that makes sense. This one I'm not going to put the medium on, I'm just going to put the light and the dark because it's really small. This one, however, I'm going to put the medium on. Now this part here comes down, and that's very shadowed there, so that's all going to be medium there. So I hope you all have great plans for the weekend. Of course, I will be live tomorrow, and we will be picking a new book and a new set of pencils. Of course, we are still working with the Karen E. Myers books because she is our Artist of the Month. And we will be hopefully getting together with Karen and having her come on the show and hang out with us, which is so cool of her to do. I'm just like so pleased that she has agreed to do that. Am a big fan of her books. Well, obviously I have almost all of them. And even though I don't color in them a lot, it's just because I guess get busy with other things, trying to do things for the channel and stuff like that. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the Artist of the Month as well as the Pencil of the Week, because then it gives me an opportunity to really enjoy the different artists I have in my collection. And it also gives me the ability to enjoy the different pencils I have in my collection and still show them off to you guys and show you what they can do and show you how pretty their pictures are. It's a win-win-win. And I think I'm the one that wins the most, though. I get to play with them all. They're just blending together beautifully. So I've gone over with the dark over top of the medium on this one, and now I'm going back over it with the light, getting rid of any white spot because I want to. Now typically with a flower, you would leave an area lighter, like this area here I'm going to leave lighter because of the light hitting it. Now if you find that you are a little too heavy-handed and you end up covering the entire petal like this one here, if I was to take the medium or the dark and cover the entire petal, all I would have to do to correct that and to put in that light spot is just take your eraser and just very gently lift a little bit of the pigment off. And that's all you have to do. You don't need to scrap it. You don't need to say, oh, well, it's ruined. You just need to just relax. Look at where your light area is going to be, which is usually the blank areas on any object. That's usually where your light source is hitting. And adjust it with your eraser. It's not going to take all of the pigment off, so it's not the best thing to do if you're completely colored and you want to go with a completely different color scheme. That's just not going to happen with an eraser. But if you put too much pigment down and made something too dark and you need a streak of light in it, the eraser will help you with that. So like this area here, for example, I want this a little lighter here. Oops, went too light. So you just brush it off and go back over it. And put back in your darker colors that you want in there. So I want a little bit more dark up here because there's a curve there that's pointing downwards, away from the light. Make sure I put my darkest areas back in. And then just a touch of the light color, just to fill in that stark whiteness. And there you have it. Now your light source is still there, but you've also corrected an overcoloring. And I think they did pretty good. All right, so we are hitting 1 hour. So I will definitely say my first impressions on these pencils. They color beautifully. They did a really, really good job on the coloring of this flower, which is a 3-color blend. I'm going to grab that green that I was worried about here. So is this one here? Number 57, I think. No, number 58. There we go. And we're going to sharpen it, make sure that there's not a piece of brown from the pencil next to it on it. And we're going to color these leaves here just to see. Yeah, so there was a piece of brown on it. You know, it's an olivey green color, so it's supposed to have a little bit of brown in it, but not a chunk where it actually drew brown. They're a nice green though. So yeah, it does quite nice. It did sharpen that out really, really well, so that's good. They are able to be used right out of the go, you know, so when you get your pencils, they're ready to go, no problem. However, they do perform a little bit better if you sharpen them. Let's not throw them. Um, did I break that? No, but I think I got water on it. They do run with water. They do blend together quite nicely. So I'm using a blue over top of that uh, yellow-green color. And I'm going to go back over it with the yellow-green here in just a few minutes and blend that in, creating that green for the leaves. Um, They are not water resistant, they are not smudge resistant. So if you're going to be heavy-handed or rubbing back and forth in an area that you've already colored, make sure that you put something down so that you don't ruin your picture. Whether it's a piece of paper or a piece of wax paper or something that isn't going to ruin your picture for you. And we're just going to add a little bit more of this yellow-green. Just creating that darker green area. Blending it around. like so. So my first impressions of these pencils were they are very, very nice pencils. They're definitely not budget friendly to a US person. They are about 50 cents a pencil, but they do come in a very lovely case. So if you look at the cost of cases here in the US for a 120 case of individual slot pencil slots, you're looking at about $20, $25 plus the cost of 120 pencils. So it's pretty much at par with buying a 120 set of pencils and a 120 case here in the US. So it's pretty even. The only issue with purchasing them from overseas, of course, is you have to wait for them to get there. Um, and you don't feel as put out, I guess, ordering them from the US because you're not paying the shipping. But with shipping and the cost of the pencils, it's about $60. With the cost of a bag and the pencils here in the US, like a 120 set of pencils here in the US, that are still budget friendly, but not low end budget friendly. So a medium budget friendly, slightly higher than the Castle Arts, but definitely not, I don't know. I can't think of so Phoenix color or something like that. But Winsor and Newton, that sort of thing. So you're taking a 120 set of pencils that are a medium grade and a 120 slot bag with a pencil extender, and I do believe they have do they have I thought it came with a sharpener as well, maybe not. But it does come with a pencil extender and a little coloring book. So with all of those added things put together for cost-wise, it's a cheaper set. And it's cute. So I'm happy with it. All right, guys. I am going to say thank you all very much for watching. My first impressions of this set is that they are definitely something I'm going to play with a little bit more and enjoy. They lay down very nicely. They are not overly expensive. They are, a mid-range cost for pencils. So not upper artist quality range, but definitely with all the little bits and pieces that come with them, and the fact that they are shipped from the UK, I think well worth the cost. All right, guys, thank you all very much for joining me. I always say, hopefully you hit that like button. It tells me what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy. If you're not already a subscriber to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I do put out at least one video a day except for Sundays. And of course, I am live on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Other than that, guys, thanks so much for watching. Very pretty pencils. Always remember to relax, color, and stay safe. There will be one more short video coming up, so until then, bye-bye for now.